I understand from our discussion that you grew up in a small town in Colorado near a national monument. Is that correct?
Well, I grew up near public lands. There's a national monument about 60 miles away. So,
and does that national monument contribute to the economy of the region?
Absolutely.
It's a positive.
It is.
Well, I want to ask you a few questions. As you know, the president signed an executive order which led to the review of a series of national monuments. The cutoff was 100,000 acres for the list, and then there was one monument added under 100,000 acres, which happens to be in the state of Maine. And it said that the question there was adequate public outreach and coordination with relevant stakeholders. Would you give me your views on what that means? What would you consider adequate public outreach and coordination with relative stakeholders?
Well, I certainly can't speak to the specifics of the
No,
proposal.
I'm asking in general. What would look like adequate public outreach and coordination with relevant stakeholders?
Well, my expectation would be that public meetings were held, the views of the state representatives, the views of congressional representatives were all part of
Local
making informed
businesses,
decisions.
local people, local businesses.
Of course, local businesses, the public at large, in those
Open
communities.
meetings involving the Department of the Interior.
Absolutely, sir.
So that would look like adequate.
Well, it would certainly look like a darn good start.
Thank you. As solicitor, one of the legal questions about the Antiquities Act is the authority of the president. It's clear the president has the authority to create national monuments. There's no express authority to undo a national monument. Do you believe under the Antiquities Act the president has the authority to eliminate a national monument that was duly promulgated during the prior administration?
So I could show you legal opinions going both ways. And
I wish you would, because I've only seen legal opinions that say that the president can't do it. If there are,
I'd be happy to provide some to you. At the end of the day, that's not been tested, and here's my view of where that ultimately comes out. The first question, and this is the biggest question, is this isn't a decision that's made by the Department of the Interior. It's not even made by the Department of Justice. It's a decision that will be made at the White House because you're talking about the exercise of presidential power. And
presidential power that as all presidential powers are somewhat circumscribed by statute in the Constitution.
Well, absolutely, but this is specific authority given to the president. So I can at least tell you that when these discussions take place, they will take place in the White House counsel's office with a view from the Department of Justice, potentially a view from the Office of Interior Solicitor, and many other views. And I cannot predict at this moment in time where the White House counsel will end up. Obviously, people are familiar with the 1938 opinion. They're also familiar with other legal arguments, and some folks have even criticized the 38 opinion. So I don't know where the government will come out, but I know that it won't be a decision made in Interior.
Thank you. You've been criticized, and I'm sure you're aware of it, for having been in the department, in the private sector, represented groups and organizations. Now you're going back into the department. In one way to characterize that is you have broad experience with these issues. Another way to characterize it is potential conflicts of interest. Talk to me about that issue.
Well, first off, I'd say on a personal level, I take ethics incredibly seriously. And Senator Cantwell raised a statement made in 2005 by Earl Devaney in a hearing. If she scrolls through that hearing a little farther, she's going to see another statement by Earl Devaney where he says, I've been talking to the acting solicitor, and I think he gets it, meaning I think he gets, I was the acting solicitor, and what he meant is I think he gets that Bernhardt understands that these decisions made in legal decisions, legal advice that needs to be given, that legal advice needs to be given in a way that says it's in the interest of the public and the interest of the American public. And that's the way I conducted myself.
Is that your commitment here today to make all your decisions in the interests of the people of the United States of America?
unequivocally, and I have signed the exact same agreements my predecessors have, and I will stand by that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.